So we're in the 2002 to 2005 Amazon. We know what Amazon looks like today. So we're now in the 2002 to 2005 of crypto. Well, not crypto, of DLT. What does a future version of a pharma augmented by DLT look like in, say, 2042?
Yeah, look, I mean, we'll take. There's so many examples, and not that I'm by any means an expert in every area or functional area of pharma or life sciences. But look, let's take as example recruiting physicians to participate in clinical trials. We all know, I assume your audience also knows, that physicians are very, very critical in this life cycle of engaging patients to pharma sponsors, CROs, you name it, right? That's where the trust is, that the actual human trust is between like me to my GP, right? And then from there to engage with sponsors. But we also know, again, particularly for rare diseases and more exotic, kind of like compound discoveries, that there's a significant demand. There's a very big amount of demand. There are more and more studies, they're more and more competitive, and there's significant demand on a finite set of HCPs, right, healthcare providers, who are already completely like stressed. They have so much administrative burden, they have so much to do, that there's so much like dissatisfaction that's already going on. Again, there's a lot of evidence to back it up. So how do you engage with these people? Like, how do you make it equitable? How do you make it like a marketplace, right? Because you need them. They would like to participate, but putting them through a significant additional administrative burden, tying them to insurance and things that are like elements, financial elements or otherwise, that are let me kill this. That make it difficult to engage. That's not going to incentivize them. So to me, that's one example. It's a silly example.
So I just want to make sure I understand that example. Your example is that a future version might be a marketplace where physicians can say, I want to be part of this, and you can track them on the DLT and go, okay, these people are interested. So the physician recruitment process is a lot simpler.
Not just track them, incentivize them. And then allow them to kind of, again, just like any other kind of open marketplace, kind of like when you and I buy stock.
Yeah.
You have choice, right? You look at it with like various metrics and various criteria in mind. Same thing. Why wouldn't it? Why couldn't it be like that? And then you could, from there, you could trickle down. There's a transition. I think people talk about, well, we could do exactly that with patients. True. Yeah. But let's be realistic. If right now, and you made a very good point, well, patients don't even know. They don't even know how to get access to their healthcare records. Well, what's the next port up the road? Well, the next port, I think, is healthcare providers, and particularly trusted GPs. If you can engage them in this way, then the likelihood of them going to their patients saying, hey, look, Dasha, Jim, with your profile, we think that you should participate in this thing. It's actually fairly easy to do. I'm part of it. And you also, in turn, can get some, not only have some monetary incentives and potentially be remunerated, but also have some control, some visibility, some transparency. And oh, by the way, it goes by your consent. If you choose to remove your consent, or if there's a, if you want to provide continuity of consent to your next of kin or whatever, can all be done transparently, compliantly, in a way that's privacy preserving. Your healthcare records are not going to be on the internet or on a blockchain or whatever. That can be done, and we can prove it right now. Yet provide you some degree of kind of like access and control. I think it's part of it. So I think that's the way I kind of see it trickling down. Could you, by luck or whatever, maybe to an advocacy group, engage a whole bunch of patients directly? Yes, probably. But I think much more realistically in this scenario for clinical research is you engage overburdened physicians who are already doing this, but make it better for them. Make it a little bit simpler for them, make it more accountable for them. And then from there, you just trickle it down. I think if you look at that, the large kind of like cycle here and then all the stakeholders here, the more of this you do, the more I think embedding of this DLT technologies as a source of transparency, as a record or system of truth, you're making that just happen, but you're making it happen, in a kind of as like an underlayer, right? Not overtly, because I don't think it makes sense I honestly, I don't see it happening where you say, let's give every one of these physicians or patients, like electronic wallets, and let's teach them how to manage their keys and things like this. I don't think that's going to happen, and not anytime soon. I think what's going to much more likely to happen is that you have some legal fiduciaries and custodians who essentially, on behalf of the organization, like a Pfizer or a CRO, and the physicians and or the patients, provide these kind of services to make it easier. And companies like us who embed these technologies in an easier way, so people don't have to worry about the anxiety of dealing with cryptocurrencies and keys and things like this, get the benefit of it. That's what I kind of see happening over the next decade or so. I think, and eventually, I think people with their phones, right? On your phone, even average people without like having a degree in cryptography can manage, things like wallets and keys and stuff like that, and be usable enough to do so. But to me, that's one use case. There's many other ones. There's use cases around like supply chain and things like this too.